free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If on the other hand you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Bork. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Monday, 10th day of December 2018. Hope you had a great weekend. Whoever you are, wherever you are, thanks for being here today. Big day in the markets. We have taken out the previous swing low that was put in back on October 29th. I have a chart up of the S&P 500 E-mini futures. This is a daily chart. This is a daily candle. And really what we were waiting for this morning, pre-market into the open, was for this candle. We had a little green candle going, then it became a doji, then it turned red, and then the market fell out of bed. We put in a new swing low down at 25.83. Now in a bit I'll put this on a different chart and show you what it means in the grand scheme of things, but suffice it to say, the market is down significantly today. And of course, there's lots of different things that you can blame it on. The arrest of the Huawei executive, who, I bet you didn't know this, or maybe you did, because you guys are pretty smart. She's also a communist princess. Yeah. So this is more serious than perhaps we had thought. It's one thing to be the female darling of the Chinese tech industry. That's kind of where she fit in. Although she was a CFO, not a CTO. But a communist princess. The big province, Shenzhen, is that right? It's where Apple has their factories. Her grandfather was like the overlord or the, I don't know, the big boss, some kind of governor. Yeah. I think with our somewhat normalized relationships with China, despite the tariffs and the whatnots and the antifreeze and the toothpaste that they sold to our prison systems, and even some hospitals, I think. Anyway, you know, I think we forgot that they were communist. Let that sink in. Remember when you were a kid and you had the drills and you had to hide under your desk because you were afraid of the Russians launching something at you? Now, we've had some pretty good relations with China off and on since Nixon. But let's not forget that from an ideological perspective, we are two very different nations. Yeah, think about that. All right, enough doom and gloom. Hey, look at those markets. See, when the markets are falling, if you're a futures trader, there's an opportunity to be an earner. And of course, when they're rising, the same is true. But futures make the short side a lot simpler than equities. But you already knew that, right? Okay, if you can't see the chart I have up and I'm talking about, go to our homepage at CFRN.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered in about 30 seconds all the way through the end of December. 1st of January, we do it all again, okay? But register now and you're good through the end of the month. That means you join the show each day with one-click access. Also, if you're away from the office, out and about, driving in the car, put your tablet or phone on youtube.com/CFRN/live. youtube.com/CFRN/live. And you'll enjoy the live. Just keep your eyes off the charts, keep the eyes on the road, okay? But you'll be able to hear the show, okay? And if you have a question, you can pull over and, oh, that's right, I'm still not monitoring the YouTube chat box. Okay, we're going to get that fixed one of these days. All right, a little bit of news. It's not easy being a Bitcoin miner these days. What with sunk costs, rapidly devaluing hardware, market volatility, and the stress of competing against every other entrepreneur in the world with the same idea. Now, when the going's good, the reward for mining crypto such as BTC can be handsome. But when it's bad, the only certainty is a huge electricity bill at the end of the month. In its latest report, BitMEX Research has examined the effect that plummeting crypto prices have had on miners. It charts the two recent downward difficulty adjustments in mid-November and early December before observing that BTC mining industry revenue has fallen from around 13 million per day at the start of November to around 6 million per day at the start of December. The drop in mining revenue outstripped the drop in the price of BTC during this period. The report notes that there has been considerable speculation around the causes of the price crash, with some saying that miners sold BTC in order to finance a costly hash war in Bitcoin Cash. The crypto intelligence monitoring platform Boltzmann flagged to us that their platform had detected unusually large miner selling of BTC on the 12th of November, a few days before the Bitcoin Cash split. Now, the report concludes with an observation that others within the crypto community have also made in recent weeks to the effect that Bitcoin mining will remain cost-effective for sufficient miners to secure the network for the foreseeable future. Okay. The second Decentraland auction commenced today at 10 a.m. Eastern, following on from the initial auction that took place in the virtual city last year. Yes, I said virtual city. All of the remaining 9,331 parcels of land, currently marked as black squares on the map, I'll show you the map here in a bit, will be made available via a Dutch auction in which prices begin at 200,000 mana, that's crypto speak for 12 grand US, before dropping gradually to as low as 1,000 mana if required. It is expected that all of the new parcels will have been purchased by the time the bidding price falls to around 5,000 mana, so don't expect to pick up any cheap land for 1,000. During the past week, Decentraland has announced a number of partnerships and integrations enabling bidders to purchase land using not only mana but a number of other cryptos. There has been significant interest in the project as the auction date nears, offsetting some of the gloom that's pervaded the market at large amidst falling crypto prices. Bloggers have published guides advising interested parties on where the pick of the unclaimed lands lie on the map and how to go about obtaining them. Despite Decentraland's virtual world yet to have launched, interest in trading the parcels represented as ERC 721 non-fungible tokens has been keen, with land fetching as much as $175,000 a square. And it hasn't even launched yet. I mean, come on, that's crazy, right? I agree. But it's the news, so I got to bring it to you. Okay. Now, we talk about Bitcoin and crypto quite a bit. It's kind of what we do, along with futures. And I have mentioned to you a number of times about Silk Road. In fact, I took you guys on the dark web to visit the Silk Road years ago. You may not remember it. Some of you may not have been here then. And then I've tried to keep you up to date on Silk Road got shut down, and Mr. Ulbrich, the genius behind it, he got taken down. Tried to keep you up to date on that. Now, more news. The Silk Road Marketplace, launched in February of 2011, was the first dark net market that allowed the buying and selling of illicit narcotics. Not to mention guns, hitmen, and other unspeakable things. On Friday, a Salt Lake City media publication interviewed former Silk Road administrator Curtis Green about his involvement with the first darknet market. Green says he can publicly discuss the subject now after selling his movie rights and publishing his book called The Silk Road Takedown. According to reports, Green's memories and the Silk Road backstory have been turned into a Coen Brothers screenplay. Green was involved in a shady conspiracy that complicated the Silk Road investigation because law enforcement faked his torture and had Green pretend he was dead for a year. Yeah, I know you want me to say that again. Green was involved in a shady conspiracy that complicated the Silk Road investigation because law enforcement faked his torture and had him pretend he was dead for a year. How do you do that? How do you pretend you're dead for a year? Before his arrest, Green worked as a salaried administrator, making thousands of bitcoins in revenue by issuing accounts and passwords to Silk Road users. When U.S. bureaucrats started talking about the darknet in Congress, several three-letter agencies, you know, your FBI, your CIA, like that, began to search for the creator of the Silk Road, an anonymous figure called the Dread Pirate Roberts, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a name taken from a Disney movie. According to Green, when law enforcement officials acquired his Utah address, somebody, no, not a three-letter agency, but somebody sent a kilogram of cocaine to his house. 2¼ pounds. The former Silk Road moderator said he didn't know the cocaine was being delivered and unknowingly took the narcotics into his home. Not long after opening the package of powder, Green was arrested and told the police everything he knew about the Silk Road. Moreover, Green gave the investigators vendor passwords and credentials to major dealers selling their junk on the market. A couple days later, about $500,000 worth of BTC was stolen from Silk Road vendors and staff due to Green's leaked information that he handed to police. Now, when they talk about vendor money, let me explain how this worked. Let's say you were a person looking to buy the crack cocaine, the heroin, a handgun, etc. on the Silk Road. Now, how do you know if you send this person money that they're going to actually send you the drugs? Well, you don't. That's why your money goes in escrow. See, that's how Silk Road operated and how they made their money. All right. So you want to buy we'll call it the heroin from this vendor who, I mean, he's got some really nice pictures and it looks like good stuff. I don't know what it's supposed to look like, but I guess it looks good. And so you go, I think I'll buy this. So you send your money to Silk Road. Silk Road lets him know that he needs to ship X amount of this stuff to whatever address you give. That's the part that always baffled me. You know, you're anonymous, you're on the Silk Road, the darknet, you're using the Bitcoin, but you're having it shipped to your house. I never did figure that part out, but it went on for quite a long time. Now, once you receive your illicit goods and deem them acceptable, you let Silk Road know, and then they release the funds to the vendor. So this $500,000, this $500,000 of BTC that was stolen from SR vendors, that's how it came to be. It was money being held in escrow, waiting to be paid out once confirmation of receipt of quality goods. Green says, I feel terrible. You think? There's terrible guilt. I really wish I hadn't gone to the Silk Road. He was an administrator. He was the guy that handed out the passwords. But I'm sure he means it. Following the cocaine bust and stolen bitcoins, Green explained that U.S. law enforcement officials told him that DPR, Dread Pirate Roberts, wanted the administrator beat up. So they decided to fake torture Green and used a phony waterboarding technique to make it look like he was bruised and beaten. Now, Green then claims the agents told him, DPR, wanted him dead and asked him and his wife to perform a fake death. Under instructions from federal agents, the former SR Silk Road administrator and his wife created a bogus death photo using a can of red soup. Green says he pretended he was dead for close to a year and never left his house in Utah. I don't think you can make this stuff up. I followed it all the way through, so it is what happened. Now, it was only after Ross Ulbricht was arrested in a San Francisco public library. Why haven't I seen this movie yet? And the public found out about the 2 rogue special agents who stole the BTC from the investigation. Now, why haven't you heard more about this in mainstream media? About these 2 rogue DEA agents who stole $500,000 in Bitcoin from Silk Road. U.S. Secret Service veteran Sean Bridges and Carl Force were convicted of stealing thousands of Bitcoins from the case and are now in prison. According to testimony in court back in April of 2013, the father of Carl Force passed away, and Force decided to create a Silk Road account called Death from Above. Following the new profile creation, the agent used the account to attempt to extort DPR, Ross Ulbricht. Force's legal representation, criminal defense lawyer Ivan Bates, explained that during this time, Force was drinking a lot and had significant mental health problems. Later, Green pled guilty for the cocaine delivery, but was let off the hook by federal prosecutors because he helped law enforcement officials and because of the part he played in the Bridges and Force scandal. 2 people that are deceitful criminals, and here they were part of the government. That's Green's opinion during an interview. He continued, meanwhile, Ross Ulbricht is serving a double life sentence for his involvement with the darknet market, and his family continues to fight for his freedom. The blatant corruption involved with the Silk Road investigation gives the Ulbricht family reason to believe the whole case was rife with manipulation. The Ulbrichts have also created a petition to U.S. President Donald Trump asking for Ross to receive clemency. So far, the document has garnered over 100,000 signatures. Green says his life will go on and emphasized to the Salt Lake City media publication that he can't go back and change it. He wishes he could, but he can't. All I can do, he says, is apologize, make sure I don't make the same mistake twice, and move forward. So, does it all end here? Well, according to hashtag #FreeRoss, it's far, far from over. Well, there's your little bit of news. Let's take a look at the numbers. Paris, the most elegant and sophisticated city in the world, they say, under siege. Okay. Doesn't look good. Didn't look like that when I was there. Alright, now these are cash markets. We'll talk futures in a moment. We'll start in the US. Currently the Dow down 376 points, which, considering it was down over 500 at one point, I guess that's not too bad. The NASDAQ is down 53, S&P 500 down 35, and the Russell 2000 down 16. Now the biggest loser there is the Dow, currently down 1.5%. In the commodity basket, crude oil lost $1.04, trading 51.57 at last. Gold lost $2.50, trading 12.50.10 last. In the Asian markets, at the close, the Nikkei was down 459 points, or a little over 2%. Shanghai was down 21, almost 1%. And the Hang Seng lost 311, over 1%. European markets, the contagion continues. FTSE down 56, DAX down 166, that's 1.5%. And the CAC lost 70, again 1.5%. So, it's a big red radio day in Asia, in Europe, and in the US of A. 2 days, back to back. Up on the screen, there's Friday. Here's today. Now, to show you how serious this matter might be. Take a look at this swing low right here. Under normal conditions, that would create a low risk, high probability bounce. Did we see any bouncing? Yeah, we saw a little, but nothing like what would be expected. I mean, this is a very important area and number right here. Okay, this was put in on October 29th, this swing low. And like I say, we bounced coming into it a bit, but it was weak, and you could just feel the downward pressure. So where do we go from here? We'll talk about that when I come back, and I will be back. Michael will, I believe. Michael, you ready?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
He's ready. Okay, he's going to give us a recap of everything that happened in the live training room today, up close and personal. Then I'll be back, and I'll talk with John. We'll take a look at some Concierge Trade Alerts. We'll take a look at the Logic 247, and of course we'll have lots of answers to all of your questions. All that and more when I return. It's all yours, buddy.
Coming up. Okay, let me pull it over here. Here we go.
There it is. Okay.
Okay, slide it over to YouTube. All right, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, the 10th day of December, 2018. Yeah. Okay, if you have not taken a free trial with us, go to the homepage here at CFRN.net. Over here in the right-hand column, it says 5-day free trial, apply.cfrn.net. If you click on that, you will be brought to this page, where all we ask for is your email, your first name, and how you found us. Click on submit, and you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on that confirmation link. Okay, we don't know you took the trial until you click that confirmation link. So make sure you click it. Okay? Okay. Spreadsheet. Today, let's see. Okay. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you can read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 10th day of December 2018. Today we lost 4 ticks in the euro, we made 10 ticks in crude, we lost 8 ticks in gold, and we made 18 ticks on the ES. All right, today it took 45 minutes and 9 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $100 a contract, and we took a total of 13 trades. So on the morning, we were up $225. Okay, we stopped out on our first 2 trades. That's why it took a while to get it. Oh, it took a lot of trades to get it. On the month now, we're up $897. That's over 5 days, averaging $197 per day. On the year, we're up $35,871 over 227 days, averaging $158 per day. Now that is one contract, 2 hours per day. It's one contract, just one contract, 2 hours per day. Okay? Okay. Let's take a look at what we did here. In gold, we only had this stop out. It stopped us out pretty much to the tick, and then it went and did what it should have done. See down here, the green line went and got up into the cycle, and what it did, it put in a higher swing, and then it pulled back down, and then it was just all over the place, back and forth across the BBC. It did give one more short right here. That would have been a break even. And it was just back and forth in here. Okay, during the break, see, we weren't really trending, so I wouldn't have done anything in here. And I wouldn't have done anything here either. So we really just had that one and that one. We got to check the gold. When do we roll this gold? Let me go check. Take a look at that. Hold on just a second. Gold, here it is. Total volume 157,000. And the next contract, come on, roll. Roll again. Yeah, the next contract. We don't roll for a while on the gold. G. Okay, going back there. And that was all we had on the gold. Now the euro. Wow, look at that movement in the euro. And we missed the opportunity right here for that. I think I was responding to a question on some other market when that happened. Scroll back to the beginning. All right, as I said, we started out with 2 stop outs. One was on gold and one was on the euro. They were both at the same time. We stopped out here on the euro, and then it started jumping back and forth across the BBC. We didn't do anything else with it until way over here. We picked up 4 ticks profit. That put us at, well, we were at -8, and that put us at -4. I missed this huge run down here, and this was quick too. This run down was pretty quick. But I missed that. I just missed the entry because I was responding to a question. Then down here in the slingshot, it's changing direction, but up here on price, it hasn't quite yet. And then sort of flattened out and hasn't really established a trend. You know, it hasn't really established a trend. If anything, they'd be along right here off the PBC, but I don't like trading when the cycle is flat and in the middle like that. Okay, so I would leave that alone. Crude oil, what did we get on crude? +10. Okay, let's scroll back. Okay, we started out right here on crude. We got 3 ticks profit on that, and then we had a break even there and a break even there. And then I'm just looking down here at the slingshot to see if I missed anything in this choppy period here, and it doesn't look like I did. On this momentum short here, we picked up 7 ticks to put us at +10. Then it got choppy again, and you can see it down here in the slingshot. See how the cycle's going up and down and not sticking to one side or the other. So we got choppy again, so there was nothing in there, and now we're getting into the break. And during the break, there may have been a short off the BBC right here, but it would have been a break even. Okay, there's nothing else happening there right at the moment. Okay, and this is the ES on a 30-minute chart. Now, I'm going to flip it to a daily chart, and I'll show you something. Dwayne will go over it in more detail a little later. But let me flip it to a daily chart, and you'll be able to see how significant this level right here is. Hang on, wait for my charts to catch up with me here. Yeah, this level right here. Okay, this is a significant level. This level up here, also significant. That 26, come on charts. 2603, I think, right in there. Yeah, right in here, 2613, right in there in that area. You see how it bounced off it here, and it bounced off it here. Now this bounce was just about probably a 50% retracement of that big leg down. This one didn't go all the way down, but it retraced up to almost the same point. And right now it's come down and hit that area again. It's actually gone through it a little bit. And let's look at it on a 30-minute chart. Yeah, it's coming, I hope. Okay, on the 30-minute chart, we were looking at this level right in here, 2603. And you can see there's a weekly trading zone in there. There's also a weekly trading zone down here. Now, this is a retracement of the big leg down. It wouldn't shock me to see it get back up to this zone and then move down to this zone. And if it does, there's a good chance that if it doesn't hold at that zone, there's 100 points between that zone and the next zone. So you see it's gotten all the way back up to that zone on the 4-tick range. And we'll see what that zone does here. Okay. Now, oops, I didn't mean to minimize it. On the ES today, we took, I'm going to show you what we did. Hold on. Go back here to the 4-tick range. And I'll try to scroll. And then all my charts catch up. Does anybody have any questions about anything I've gone over so far? Anybody? Well, it looks like my charts are all frozen up here. I'm scrolling and it's not moving. Well, I'll tell you what I did on the ES. We had 6 trades. The first one was +1 tick. The second one was +7 ticks. The third one was +6 ticks. The fourth one was +2 ticks. The fifth one was +1 tick. The sixth one was +2 ticks. And then we had a break even. So we ended up with +18 on a bunch of small trades. You know, the highest number of ticks we grabbed on the ES was 6 at one point. Actually, twice we grabbed 6 ticks. And then it went to 4, 2, 2, 2, and 1. But anyway, the ES had some movement today. I'm not going to bother with it because my charts, I need to restart or something. Yeah, because of the high volatility, Brad, there was a lot of opportunity on the ES. There was pretty good opportunity everywhere except gold. Gold didn't give a bunch of opportunity. But that said, we'll jump back here on the spreadsheet. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today, as I said, is the 10th day of December 2018. We lost 4 ticks on the euro. We made 10 ticks on crude. We lost 8 ticks on gold. Plus 220 on the month. Not on the month. Plus 220 on the day. Plus 220 on the day. Sorry, we made 18 ticks on the ES. That was $225 on the ES. Today it took 45 minutes and 9 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $100 a contract, and we took a total of 13 opportunities today. So on the month now, we're at 897. That's over 5 days, averaging 179 per day. On the year, we're at 35,871. That's over 227 days, averaging 158 per day. If you have not taken our free trial, go to the home page at CFRN.net, and over here in the right-hand column, it says 5-day free trial. Apply.cfrn.net. If you click on that, you'll be brought to this page. Where all we ask for is your email, your first name, how you found us. Click on the submit button, and you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click the confirmation link. Okay, if you don't click that confirmation link, we don't know that you took the free trial. Okay? Okay. Joan. Yeah, the hose is still on. Okay, and that's it for me for now. If anybody has any questions, you can email me at support@cfrn.net. That's support@cfrn.net. Or you can call me at 949-423-6464. It's 949-423-6464. Okay. Okay. With that, we can pass it back out to Studio A, where Dwayne is currently overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready.
It's true, I am.
Yes. And something happened last night. I'm going to put a message in the chat box for you.
For
I
me?
don't know which one of you. Yeah, I don't know which one of you to put it on though. I'll put it on both.
Put it in the Telegram.
In the Telegram?
Put it in
Okay, I'll put it in the Telegram.
We both see it.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, look at that daily candle. Turn it into a doji. Now, this morning, it had a green body to the upside. Then it became a doji. And then it became a big angry red candle. I would have to say that we certainly did get a bounce. I mean, goodness gracious, we bounced from the low today at 83, and we're back up now to 18. So 17 and 18, that's probably 35, if I'm thinking right. Just a 35-point bounce. Now, did it bounce off of the area that we had mentioned that I talked about last night? No, it did not. It kind of ripped right through there. That happens sometimes. When buyers get out of the way, that's what happens. And I think that's what happened here. They used a lot of bullets at the open. Look at our volume today on the S&P. 1.6. That's a strong day. The average day over the last 6 months, I had those figures in front of me. Volume in the S&P has fallen off, which although in the last, over like a 90-day period, volume fell off, but over the last 30 days, volume increased. When I first started trading the S&P, it was like 1 to 3 million a day, I think. It was more like, it was the high 1s to the 2s to the 3. And now, 1.5 is probably a pretty average day. Let's see. That looks about like average of those candles. So 1.25. Yeah, that's about what I thought. I mean, that's an awful lot of contracts. Does anyone have a reason to be concerned because of that? No, I don't think so. Michael, what was the recap of the recap?
Today, it took 45 minutes and 9 trades to get to $100 per contract.
That's the ticket.
That is it.
That's the ticket. Kramer on CNBC at noon said regarding today, I can't believe I'm quoting this guy, but for you, Joan, I will. Kramer on CNBC at noon said regarding today's market direction, I just hate to see people get picked off. I guess all we short sellers, I guess we short sellers are all in that category. Okay, Jim, what did you mean by that? Anyway. So tell us about your snowy adventure, or did you already do that?
My snowy adventure. I didn't do it here, but no, we had 15 inches of snow. And they don't plow the back roads. They don't plow developments like mine, and so I don't know how long it's going to be before the kids go back to school. I have not left the house.
Have they announced school closure for tomorrow?
Not yet. Not yet. That'll probably be this afternoon. I am going to go out today, and I'll drive by the schools that the kids go to and see if they're all cleaned up. And I mean, the school buses, that's the issue. The school buses can't go in this stuff. And they have to come into these developments, and they have to go down the back roads. So, you know, if the school buses can't go, then they can't get the kids to school. So, you know, not that Jake gets on one, but there is a school bus that comes through my neighborhood. And
you should watch the TV show Outlander. You have a couple seasons to catch up, but if you were caught up to right now, they're in North Carolina.
Are they?
Mm-hmm. in two different how do I say this? Think time travel in 2 different years.
Oh, really? In 2 different years?
It's quite an interesting show. Somebody leaked in here one day that they also watch it, so I don't have to feel so bad. It's no reason. It's a pretty good show. Yeah, whatever. Oh, I spent all day Saturday with the Alaskan Bush people.
Oh, you did?
I had not watched this season. And you know what? Even though I was told by somebody who lived in Alaska that they were faking it, I decided early on Saturday, as I was getting into my binge, I said, I don't care. I like these people. And I do. How can you not like them? I mean, they're like mountain people. They live on a mountain and they do all of these crazy things, but at the end of the day, they're just family. It's all about family. And they talk about God, and they profess to be Christians. So you know what? When the shooting's done for the day, if they go take a hot shower, you know, and lounge around in a hotel room, and watch TV, I'm okay with that. Because there's enough pictures of them long before the TV show. It kind of looks like they're living out in the woods. I mean, maybe once they had money coming in, they got like, hey, we don't have to do this anymore. You follow me?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But that wouldn't be so wrong, would it?
No,
So, you know anybody that works at Verizon?
I do not.
I'll tell you why I ask.
Yes, I was wondering why you're asking.
Yeah. Well, there's always a reason. Verizon says 10,000 employees has accepted its buyout offer. Now, who did we have getting in trouble the other day? GM, because they're laying off all these people right before Christmas.
I don't know.
Yes, that's the big headline. Anyway, so Verizon, they need to get rid of some people. So I guess they figure they won't take Trump off if they pay him to go away. And this is probably the best, one of the best I've seen or heard of for us ordinary folk. Now, I'm not talking about the golden parachute guys. The program offered eligible employees and managers up to 60 weeks of salary, bonus, and benefits, depending upon their length of service, to just go away. Now, they made this offer to 44,000 employees across all of their divisions. So it's just a blanket, we'll give you up to 60 weeks of salary, bonus, and benefits to just go away. That's a mistake. Well, but it's hard to fathom that out of that swath, that wide 44,000, that nobody was valuable enough to, that they hadn't groomed someone, that someone wasn't on the cusp of creating something new and different, that they would want to keep some of the people. So I don't know, you know, it could be fake news, right? It could be fake news. Maybe they didn't really.
It's probably not. When I was when I was working at State Street years and years ago, they did the same thing, and you know what? They offered it to everyone. They gave a buyout offer to everyone with a minimum of 3 months of paid, 3 months of pay, and minimum of 3 months of pay, and benefits. 6 months of benefits minimum, and all that. And you know who took it? All the new hires, all the people that had only been there for a month or two.
Yeah, what a sweet deal. That's like the lot. That's a lottery. That's an employment lottery. Take a look at Ken's comment. Ken says, I accepted a buyout from Verizon at age 51, but not near that much was offered. It was a much less number. Now, so why is Verizon terminally laying people off? This press release here says that they're laying people off this time because they're trimming their workforce ahead of a push into the 5G network service. Seems like they need more people for that, but is it that they just don't know how to manage their workforce, Ken? It seems unusual that there would be there may be more than 2 episodes, but I know of this episode today and the one you're talking about, so that's 2 times Verizon has paid people to go away. I mean, is that a common practice in corporate America? Does it have to do with economics, age? I don't know. I never worked for corporate America, so I don't know these things. Did you take the buyout?
I didn't. No. Nope.
Do you wish you had?
I did not. No, actually, I don't. They gave me. They did that, and they it cut the workforce down, and then what they had left, they had to take care of. And I knew some guys who took it. But their alternative was take it, or you're on the verge of being laid off. Laid off, like you just get unemployment, as opposed to getting a buyout. Even in the Air Force, they offered a buyout, and I didn't take it then either. And
they were trying to pay us to stay in. Oh, look at the S&P go.
And they were paying us to get out. I did have some friends who were, they were halfway through their career, and that was a big enough chunk of money that they could get out and get a job and live pretty well, and that's what they did. I have one friend who was from Boston, who I used to work with when I was in England, and he got out. He had 3 kids, and he took, the buyout was about 2 years' pay, just about, and he took it, got out, and he's working on private jets in Texas now. So, it worked out for some of them.
I guess some CEOs would long for the good old days when you could just fire people.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, is it illegal now in America to just fire somebody? I used to fire people all the time, but I did it with, I tried to smooth it over as best you could, but it's never pretty. But they knew it was coming.
Well, I mean, if you have cause, then Jada just fired 2 people. Well, laid them off. Call it laid off. But
interesting. A Chinese court ordered a ban on most iPhone sales in the country as part of 2 preliminary injunctions. So Apple was down considerably today, but it seems to be bouncing back. John's here?
John's out there. Yeah.
Okay.
I just noticed.
All right. Well, if you want to open up his mic, we'll chat with him a bit as the market rallies up here to this trend line. Watch this trend line, guys. See what happens.
Here you go. His mic is open.
All right. Hey, John.
Hey, John.
Hi there.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks. This was probably for some people a pretty hard bottom to pick, but we actually nailed it pretty well. Yeah. We got the first bottom, and then the rally, and sold the rally, and then I kind of got a feeling it was just going to go right before that green bar started, and we just jumped on it just in time before it happened. So
good job.
Thanks. I actually said last night, thought the Dow would get down into the 23,000s, which we did. The high 23,000s. We're now actually 24250 already, which is pretty impressive. We've cut the losses drastically. We're only down 200 after being down about 4 or 5. And the Nasdaq is positive, and the semiconductors are positive, and the technical triple tech is positive. So we're not out of the woods yet. We've seen these, in fact, this is a rally that has to hold. If we roll over this afternoon and sell off, then we're looking down the barrel of an 87 repeat, which unfortunately could still happen because there's so much news coming from all directions, including that thing you just mentioned about Apple over in China. That's not a government thing, that's a court thing. It's actually a court because of Qualcomm won a case against them, but I'm sure they're going to settle this in the next few days, wherever the deal is. And already the stock is recovering. In fact, it's kind of probably helped the market up today because it put in a pretty good bottom this morning, and it's actually gone positive, Apple. So it's not this could be the lows right here on Apple. Actually, the way the market's set up, I think Nvidia in particular looks quite dynamic. Didn't make a lower low today, which is important from a divergent standpoint. And since these are sort of leaders, Intercept didn't make a new low today by a mile. It's way off its lows. Very, very positive. Let's have a look at MDGL. Yeah, MDGL is not so good. Microsoft not acting too bad. The structure on these stocks is still, worrying. But we'll see. This is a good rally. I mean, let's face it, it's a pretty good effort. We're only 13 points away from going positive on the S&P, which if we do, it would be a very big deal.
Considering how far we fell, and how fast
exactly.
at one point, that definitely.
Yeah.
Here's a Madrigal on a weekly.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, that stock. I mean, you know, you just have to ask yourself, you know, how did this stock
What was
go
this
up?
all about?
That was the treatment for fatty liver disease.
Oh, okay.
And you remember they were having this study and they got a good result, and of course, and the stock went up dramatically.
Yeah, doubled,
and then
tripled.
But then, yeah, and if you look at Intercept, it's a crazy story, because this stock, you know, got beaten down tremendously. They both went up together a long time ago. Then they got beaten down tremendously, and then they had this big rebound in that's Intercept rather.
Yeah.
Intercept hasn't it's actually looking obviously it's looking a lot better than Madrigal right now, and it's sort of a battle between these two companies, and it looks like Intercept's starting to win again. And so I would consider, you know, if we sort of get back in the groove, you know, in a bull market groove, I would certainly be buying every dip on Intercept, and I would be try to sort of build up some capital, because if it, you know, Intercept could be, there's something pretty big coming up in January for Intercept, some sort of a study results. Now there's a double-edged sword, obviously, because if the study doesn't have a good outcome, there's a lot of risk in the stock. But you know, if you start to see this thing surge, you know, it's probably worth jumping on board, because you might have $100 upside or more, you know, the same way as what happened with that Madrigal. It could really happen. So and the way the stock's adding, you know, it seems to get a lot of support, this stock. Every time it gets beaten down, there's buyers come in all the time. So I think that's pretty encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you hear about this big oil discovery in Texas?
I did not.
It's really something huge. I mean, you know, oh, by the way, this is amazing. I found a chart yesterday. I'll see if I can send it over to you for tomorrow's show. Do you know that since 2010, the U.S. and Canada in 2010 combined, not including Mexico, U.S. and Canada, were producing just about 10 million barrels a day together. According to this chart, do you know what they're producing today together?
No, what?
20 million barrels. 20 million barrels a day.
Million.
Upwards of 20. I've been saying 18. I was wrong. It's 20. It's sort of breaking the 20 right now, which is just incredible. So, you know, and if you take Mexico into account, you know, North America as a unit is producing about 22 million barrels a day, or certainly more than 20 million barrels a day now, for sure. And that's just incredible. If this hadn't happened, you know, if we hadn't found all this shale and made all these discoveries, I think it's definitely be over $100 today, the oil, and it might even be a lot higher than that, because, you know, the world couldn't cope with 10 million barrels less per day. I mean, prices would be spectacularly higher. So,
well, it's interesting to see crude. I mean, we're back down at $52. You know, my work over the weekend, and whatever happens is whatever happens. We haven't seen a lot of volatility today, but I see volatility ahead for crude, big, humongous swings. So I don't know what's going to.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. No, look, the markets, in spite of the shale, I don't think they can. Look, we'll wait and see, but you know, they may not be able to get much more out of the shale at this point. They're probably maxed out. And remember, some of the wells might start, you know, going down in actual output as well. And there are other fields around the world that are running into trouble. So there's definitely, look, we're going to be doing over 100 million barrels a day pretty soon, consumption-wise. Possibly 101, 102 million by 2020, and the OPEC's just cutting 1.25 million barrels right now, so that's probably going to you know, up the price. And if it gets cold in the winter, gets really cold in the next few months, that's probably going to help as well. And normally in the first quarter, it's a seasonally strong period for oil, ahead of the driving season. So I would say that oil is probably going to go back and test those previous highs. But I think that the likelihood of 90 or 100 barrel oil is remote at the moment, unless there's some sort of severe disruption somewhere in the world. But this discovery it's about 40 billion barrels, which is an awful lot. 40 billion barrels, and there's a 230 trillion cubic feet of gas, which is ginormous. I mean, we're already the Saudi Arabia gas, and this just, puts us over the top. And then there's about 20 billion barrels of gas liquids, which is very high quality, viscous sort of petroleum. So altogether, it's about a $3 billion barrel discovery. And then you factor in the gas equivalent, it's probably 100 billion barrel find, which is, not quite half as big as Saudi Arabia, but it's getting up there. So this is, and look, if they found something that big, there's probably a lot more yet to be found. I mean, they haven't found it in all the exploration of the last 100 years, and they suddenly find a huge find like this. It's pretty encouraging.
Yeah, it really is. Are you following this? Have you been following this asteroid that they sent the robot up to? It's going to shadow it for a year, and then it's going to scrape up some gravel and bring it back to Earth. I just caught a little bit of that this morning on the Alexa show, but I'm sure you've heard the talk that they think that on these asteroids they might be able to find gold, silver. I don't know if there's any talk of there being, fossil fuel, crude. What do you think? You think they're going to bring?
I think it's a bit fantasy. We're way ahead, it's way out in the future. That I think it's.
Well, I mean, the whatever they set up, it's there.
It's like going to Mars. I'm telling you.
Well, it arrived today. It's there now.
People can dream about going to Mars and all this, but you know what? It's never going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen for a long time.
Well, but decades. It's already there. Decades. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It arrived. It arrived today.
Talk about humans going to Mars.
Oh, humans. Yeah. And my goodness, who would want to? I mean,
by the way, the Chinese just fired a rocket up to the moon a couple of days ago. That's probably going to get there in the next few days, and it's actually going to land on the moon. I think some sort of a thing is going to land on the moon. So it's going to be interesting to see some HD pictures taken right on the new moon.
NASA arrives at Bennu today, but exactly where is that asteroid? That one's dated the 3rd. Well, doesn't Elon have a company that's supposedly involved in this?
Yeah. I mean, you mean going to the moon or the asteroids?
The asteroids.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think he's doing anything like that yet.
I haven't heard it talked about lately, but if I'm not mistaken, it was him and Jeff Bezos that put together some venture years ago, but it's been very low profile. I haven't heard anything about it. Did you see Elon on 60 Minutes?
No, I did. Unfortunately, I was kind of busy yesterday. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but
it was the official "I'm not crazy" speech. He was just very matter of fact. He's like, hey, he goes, look at the video. You can tell I don't even know how to smoke pot. I mean, that's kind of the attitude he took. And then he went off on a huge rant on the SEC.
Yeah, that was kind of a stupid thing to do, really. It's just not too smart saying things like that,
Well, it is asking for trouble.
Yeah.
And what do they call him now? It's Teflon Tesla. There we go. What did he say? Elon Musk says he has no respect for the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Well, you know what? I have my own feelings too, but he's a real high-profile guy, and a lot of people have their, wagon hitched to his dream, and so for that reason, he should, be careful. It's okay to think what he thinks and to do what he does, but public speech, it just doesn't have any place.
Yeah, he's a kind of a role model, and he shouldn't be. You got to respect the institutions,
Yeah.
That's the whole problem with all this stuff that's been going on, with the FBI for the last few years. I mean, and the Justice Department. It's, it's just kind of all that image that they had in the past about being the good guys has gone. There's lost a lot of confidence, and I just happened to catch a piece with John Grisham exposing these guys who got put in jail for murder they never committed. And I mean, just these sorts of things have been going on for years. It's just terrible.
Well, we're just talking
about one guy was 5 days away from getting executed for something, a totally innocent guy. I mean, it's just unbelievable, and this stuff's been going on forever, and they really need to reform the justice system in many, many ways.
Yeah. Now this Huawei CFO. Huawei
Yeah.
CFO. Yeah. Did you know that she was also a communist princess?
Oh, really? I didn't know they had communist princesses. I thought that was against communism.
No, apparently, well, that's what they called her on TV. She's the granddaughter, I think it was the granddaughter of, like, the governor over the whole Shenzhen province, which is the largest province. And so, yeah, if she had not decided to go into the field of high tech and finance, she could have just sat around, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a big deal there. I mean, I think with all this talk about trade and tariffs, and I think people have forgotten, I mentioned this earlier in the show, that ideologically we're very different from China. They are still communist, right?
Yeah, I think that communism thing, it's still, it's just a banner. I don't think there's any communism in China anymore.
Well, maybe you're right.
It's like control. I mean, there's a lot of central planning in terms of.
So you're saying communism has gone the way of the Queen of England?
Well, look, it's the central planning. I mean, they have control of the economy and they can do whatever they like. And in some respects, that's a good thing. I mean, what China's done in the last few years is nothing short of phenomenal. I mean, look, they've put 400 or 500 million people out of poverty, maybe more, grown their economy at a spectacular rate for 30 years straight. And by the way, in case you don't know, Australia as well deserves a big pat on the back for that. something like 25 years without a recession. That's what we should be doing right now. We should be. I mean, we're 10 years almost without a recession right now. They should make it 20 and keep this thing going, because it can be done. I mean, there's so much. When Trump talks about rebuilding China, he didn't rebuild it. He built China. The U.S. built China in the last 30 years, basically, and the reason why they were able to grow for 30 years is because they were a desert before. The infrastructure, they didn't have anything like what they have today, and they're building all these ghost cities, which is a bit over the top, but in a bit beyond, beyond it, it's taken it a little bit too far. But the rail system they've put together in China is just unbelievable. It's high-speed rail. I mean, this is the benefit when it's like sometimes the founders, when the U.S. invented fiber optic, mm-hmm. and laid down the first system, when these other countries, came in, you know, they were able to use a better technology to create these infrastructures. So a lot of these emerging companies have better infrastructure in a way than the US does. But now when 5G comes, it's going to render all this fiber optic stuff probably, you know, I'm not saying obsolete, but there's going to be better ways to connect and faster ways to connect, and cheaper ways to connect.
Well, Verizon is laying off 10,000 people, but they're paying them to go away.
Right, and then but look at the Chinese. Look at these mega phone companies in China that came out of nowhere. You know, they have 250 million clients and things. I mean, this is an example of how the cellular just mushroomed in China overnight, where people don't have landlines, they don't have the connections. Everything is you know, is mobile. So, you know, China has, and I'm just going back to the rail, you know, China was able to lay new high-speed rail track all over a massive country, you know, and lay down a whole rail infrastructure in a way that's nobody's ever done before. It's absolutely amazing what they've done.
Murder on the Orient Express. Where did that take place? Was that in China?
Well, I think they had a train that goes. There is a train that goes all the way from London to China.
Is that where it was? Was it filmed?
I think so. Yeah.
On location?
Yeah,
that was a pretty popular movie.
The Orient Express. And I've been on a train in Malaysia. I think they call it the Orient Express as well. Incidentally, you know, the fastest way to ship goods from China is actually by train all the way. It goes all the way through Kazakhstan, all these places along the way, right through to Europe. You know, a lot of computer stuff goes right all the way to Germany from China, which is pretty amazing.
Speaking of Europe, what about Paris?
You know, this guy Macron, everybody thought he was like the boy wonder, and he's come up short. You know, it seems like, I mean, it's just amazing that this has happened. And he's obviously, you know, struck a nerve. And, you know, they said a while ago that Le Pen would win the next, you know, she almost won this last election, but, you know, that she would definitely win the next one. And the way things are going right now, it's kind of looking that way more and more. And the other thing is, it's sort of exposing the problems in the EU that are unfolding before our eyes. You know, you got Italy's got problems and banking problems. Now France is, you know, got problems. Why are they putting the taxes up? Because you know, they've got deficits and things, and they're not. And then Germany is got they've got a massive immigrant problem now. Do you know that like 60% of German, I mean, you know, the Germans are almost the most nationalistic people on earth, right? In a lot of ways.
Sure.
And about 60% of people in Germany want to leave the country for a few years or more. You know, that's amazing. And it's kind of like China. I mean, 2/3 of all the Chinese want to live in four other countries. It's crazy.
Well, what part of Germany, what percentage of Germany is actually Germans now?
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, you've gone from a kind of an Aryan nation, right, to totally, you know, what it is today. And it's like Britain. I mean, you know, Britain, you got a Heathrow Airport, and you know, you probably think you're in Karachi, you know,
I've been there,
or Mumbai, right?
Well, you know, it didn't strike me. Was it Heathrow we were at? What's the other big airport there?
Gatwick.
I think we were at Heathrow.
Luton, there's another one in Luton.
Yeah, no, we were at Heathrow. So the French president's going to address the protests at 2:00 today. Theresa May spoke this morning, and they're delaying the Brexit vote.
Oh, they are?
Yep.
Well, that's when the market tanked.
Yeah, as soon as she started talking,
yeah.
away it went.
And the pound, by the way, is back to 125.70. Got down to 125 or so this morning. you know, I wish they'd just cancel this Brexit. if they did, you know, the markets would skyrocket. Remember what the pound would go roaring back up. Probably the euro would soar. It would, and that could happen. I think there's a kind of a plan behind the scenes. You know, she was never a Brexiter, Theresa May. She kind of took the mantle up to get the job. But there's so many crazy things associated with. I mean, you know, how can you have a situation where, you know, you've been integrated into Europe for 25 years or more, with freedom of movement, and you can live anywhere without a hassle. You can cross borders without passport or anything like that. And then all of a sudden they're going to tear all this apart. So the people, you know, it makes it more difficult for Brits to live in France or in Denmark or Germany or anywhere else. And it's really a kind of it's really a dumb idea. I mean, look, I think if they can get to a deal where they have a little bit more control over the sovereignty and immigration, then you know, what's the point of leaving? There isn't any point. You know, it's because at the end of the day, it's a trading union with benefits, the benefits of travel and free movement.
That's true. And the fact that you can travel seamlessly, you know, from country to country in Europe, that's, well, it's like going from state to state here in the U.S.
Exactly. It's a no-brainer, and it's you know, the benefits. I mean, look at Ireland. I mean, because do you think it would be their fifth or sixth or third richest country in the world today if it wasn't for the EU? You know, before Ireland joined the EU, it was the poorest country in Europe, just about. You know, Ireland, Spain, and Portugal. And Ireland has benefited spectacularly from being in Europe. You know, because you know, the whole idea is you contribute in, and then the money comes back out of Europe into the infrastructure, and the infrastructure in Ireland benefit enormously. You know, the fantastic new highways and freeways and roads and everything. That all came from benefit of being in the Union. And then because of the importance of the Union, you know, London is losing a lot of banks and financial companies to Dublin. Dublin's becoming the new kind of hub of Europe because people want to stay within Europe for the benefits of trading in Europe. And look, if they had a poll, I mean, 90 something like 90% of the Londoners voted to stay in the Union, in the Europe. So you got this crazy situation where people in some parts of the country voted to get out, and Scotland voted to stay in, Wales voted to stay in, London voted to stay in, Northern Ireland voted to stay in. It's a ridiculous situation.
You know much about Myanmar?
What's happening there? I've got a friend who's very knowledgeable. He's actually from Myanmar.
Jack Dorsey, the Twitter CEO.
Uh-huh.
Just noticing now in this picture, he has a nose ring. I didn't know that. He's facing a backlash for encouraging people to visit Myanmar. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey recently visited Myanmar for his birthday to participate in a 10-day Vipassana silent meditation retreat. Since then, he's been posting photos and detailed descriptions of his trip on Twitter, encouraging other people to go there if they can. Now Dorsey's facing backlash against his supposedly ignorant promotion of Myanmar, where social media platforms, including Twitter and Facebook, allegedly helped fuel a mass genocide.
That's crazy. It's a very complicated situation in Myanmar, but you know, to be getting this is all this crazy stuff that happens today with people getting sensitive about situations. You know, it's crazy.
I'm surprised Americans are even allowed to travel there.
Yeah,
I mean, it was real bad a couple of years ago, right? Mm-hmm. Has it changed?
No. Myanmar's okay. I mean,
it is okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, these days. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'll get an update.
The S&P, you know, we got just about up to that trend line. and then things got a little bit weak. In fact, we went right back to, well, right around the area where we opened last night. We got lower on the open, the reverse of the previous Sunday night. Previous Sunday night, we got higher on the open. We got lower on the open last night, but not nearly as much. This wasn't overdone. This was just normal. Last Sunday night was very much overdone. And so we come up, we close the gap, down we go. So we got a leg and a retracement, a leg and a retracement. And I don't see how anyone could expect anything else other than another leg down, even if all we do is come down to test these lows. I think that's in the cards. What do you think?
Yeah, it doesn't look, I mean, that's a very big up bar, and it doesn't look like, I mean, we could come back down and test the 2610 area. If we hold there and then start getting back up, that would be positive. That would be very good. It's actually creating a kind of a, you know, if you look at the indicators, they're probably diverging on this new low today. So that's one of the reasons why the market rallied. But you know, the last 2 hours today are going to be very important as to whether we got another leg down or whether they're going to turn around. And we're at a critical point because we're right on all kinds of trend lines that if they break, we're, you know, boy, the downside could be catastrophic. So
yeah, it could be indeed. Anything else you want to cover?
No, listen, thanks for the invite. It was great.
Hey, thank you, John.
Good day.
Enjoyed it very much. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, have a great afternoon. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, we'll go through a few of these here. Just take a look, see what happened from the Globex Open. Here's week 17 recap from last week. We had 33 alerts reach their final or only target. 7 alerts reached the first target, or 60% plus of the only target. Sometimes there's only one target. 13 of them never triggered. 8 were stomped out. So 17% of alerts were stomped out during week 17. Past performance, no indication of future results. So this is just some outlook on the open last night. Like I said earlier, we kind of ripped through the 2601. We bounced a little before we got there, and then we ripped through it. It was a good enough bounce to participate in, but we chose not to. The downside pressure just seemed too much. And I'm suspicious of this big green candle here. We'll see. We'll see if it holds. Alright, the first thing we did was we had an alert that triggered on the S&P to get short at 2613 down to 2610 and trail. And so you can see we put in a low actually at 2583. The Dow, Russell, NQ, all of them participated. All of them did well. No trigger as of yet on this crude. Copper sold off nicely during Theresa May's speech today, or shortly thereafter. And in fact, there it is, right there. And then natural gas, no trigger. Remember, the average alert that triggers will trigger 2 to 3 times, some only once, some even more. I don't cover them in the recap as it gets confusing. I attempted it back in the beta test. The second or third trigger often represents less risk, greater profit potential. Whenever you need something to trade, look back at what already triggered and what may be about to trigger again. If you're not looking for those, you might be missing a good 1/3 or better of all opportunities available to you via Logic 247. Yeah, we have to talk more about that. Okay. Here we go. We were just talking about what happens when we get down to that 2601, 602 area. The previous swing low was 2603. I thought the weight of the market might spike it a little. It spiked it a lot. Market's quiet, waiting for something, and then off we go again. Now this one, if the ES 2601, 2602 breaks, that's a big thing. Consider selling 25.92 down to 25.82, so 10 points. And as you can see here, for the record, PT. Why PT? Well, the final target was 25.82. The swing low was 25.83 right here. So that gets a PT versus an FT. On the Dow, if 24,100 breaks, and it did, 24,100 right there, it broke, and it took us down to a swing low at 23,894, and our final target was at 900, and it got down to 894. These did not get triggered, I don't think. Let me double check. 65 quarter. Nope. No, those were sort of disaster type areas. Nope. Well, maybe the Russell did. Hang on. Nope. We were looking for the Russell. The disaster was to break 1400, so we're still well above that. So no trigger. So I'll go through and I'll mark all of these as no trigger, at least for now. Oh, and this is the pound. John was just talking about. It fell a lot further than we had anticipated, but that's okay because you can trail. Just like this. Okay. We caught an exit signal right here. That would have kept you out of the biggest part of this leg. Happens. Now, I have taught you guys about hanging out for just a minute to see if the next candle makes any move to the upside. As you can see, it opened there. There's no wick on top of this red candle. So that means from the second it opened, it was falling, falling, falling. So you actually can, but I know when the exit signal prints, you just want to get out, and that's okay. I completely understand. All right, so that's the story on the pound. Crude, 51.45. The swing low was 51.26. Final target was 51.25. Swing low 51.26. So, for the record, that's a PT as well. If what we see on the indices is a head fake, it's a jolly good one. And it was a head fake. That's exactly what it was, a head fake to the upside. It looked just like this. Can't see it? Hang on, and you can see it. Right here. Bullish cross, price pulls away, price pulls back to physically touch. However, there were no buy alerts on any of the indices. Now, the market's holding in here. It's going to take another run at this trend line. Will it make it? If it pushes through, holds on a pullback, we'll take that as our first indication that maybe this low will do, but I'm not convinced, because we could roll over as we approach this high or this little spike high from Friday. So just be careful on the long side. Well, be careful always, but particularly here on the long side. So we had more. Sold the ES again as it rallied up. We were able to sell it at 26.18 down to 26.12. The swing low when I recorded this was 26.0950. As we know, it fell further. Same thing for the YM. If we roll over, there it goes. Gold, I don't think gold ever triggered. Oh, I don't have a gold chart up. Okay. There's an NQ. At the open this morning, we only had two major news events to deal with: the JOLTS job opening and UK Prime Minister speaking. If the daily ES candle turns red, consider that important. It was important. Let me show you just how important it was in the grand scheme. This candle was green at one point this morning. It had a green body. Then it became a doji. Then it was red all the way down. And then the rally came. And they bought it, and they bought it, and they bought it, and they bought it. Now they've turned it green. Now, as I said earlier this morning, if this daily candle turns red, that's important. Well, I have to say, now that it's turned green, that's important. However, it's pretty easy to see that we're in a downtrend. So I'm not too anxious to buy these rallies because they don't seem to stick. Okay. The Brexit vote was delayed. All right. We traded 250,000 ES contracts in the first 30 minutes today. So NQ, Dow, ES, Crude, Pound, no triggers, Dow, ES, no trigger on natural gas, copper, good to go. This crude never triggered. NQ, Russell, Dow, ES. It's been quite a session so far, and I expect more of the same tonight on Globex. To all of the new Passport members who were with us on the trial last week and are now Passport holders, let me welcome you to the family. Glad to have you with us. Let's go to our good word for the day. It is that time of day. Stand by. We last spoke about the breaking point. Today we'll talk about it being a choice. How you live your life's a choice. Everything's a choice. You could say, oh, that person, they really hurt me. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But ultimately, you make the choice as to whether or not you want to experience this thing called hurt. I mean, probably people have done some mean things to you in life, and for whatever reason, you just like laughed it off, like it didn't even matter. Water on a duck's back, yeah? So why the difference because it's a choice. Habakkuk 3:18 says, "Yet I will rejoice in the Lord." Now that's a choice. Pastor Jim Penner says, "I'll never forget as an 8-year-old sitting on the step when my mother opened the door to 2 men who handed her some papers. As tears rolled down her cheeks, it didn't take me long to figure out what happened. Money was tight, the bank had not been paid, and our car was repossessed." I also carry with me another image I cherish to this day of my mother praying in her room. In the face of fear, 2 words came through: "Thank you, thank you." You know, as an 8-year-old, this kid's thinking, "Thank you? You just lost your car. We have no money. What's going to happen to us?" Her prayer continued. "Thank you, God, for what you've provided, and that we have something to eat tonight." So it went. 15 minutes, maybe more. Looking back, I gained a lifetime of wisdom in those precious minutes. My mother taught me an attitude of gratefulness in the midst of adversity that I'll never forget. The tough times didn't end overnight, but in the years to come, God blessed my mother for her steadfast faith. Gratitude isn't a natural response to adversity. It's a discipline you develop. Let me say that again. Gratitude is not a natural response to adversity. It's a discipline you develop. The psalmist said in Psalm 103:2, "Forget not all his benefits." In the midst of trouble, when you don't think God has blessed you, sit down and recall his faithfulness, and you'll end up filled with joy. Habakkuk said, "Fig trees may not grow figs, and there may be no grapes on the vine. There might be no olives growing and no food in the fields, but I will rejoice in God my Savior." Habakkuk 3:17 and 18. That's actually one of my personal favorite passages of Scripture, the whole bit. If you've never read Habakkuk, check it out. Chapter 3. Here's the bottom line. When you take time to give thanks for the blessings in your life, it will change your outlook and your attitude. And by now you know attitude is altitude, and altitude is everything. Get up, get going, do whatever God created you to do. It's a choice, but you have to make it. That's our good word for the day. And that's going to wrap it for this Monday. Thanks for tuning in. Wherever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with his mercy and with his grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any securities. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.